Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about a brand new studio album from Acid Witch, but before we do that, let us first raise our glasses and say congratulations, because the Metal Meltdown has finally reached and surpassed 10,000 subscribers. Hell yes. And to celebrate such an occasion, we will be hosting our 10K celebration live stream this coming Friday, October 7th. We'll go live at approximately, let's say, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, I think that works out. We'll drink, hang out, shoot the shit. I'll answer any questions you have and share some silly behind-the-scenes stories, and I don't know, maybe we'll look at some memes or whatever the fuck. I don't know, but we're just gonna hang out and have fun and enjoy each other's company. And this will be face-to-face, no video games. I'll have my webcam set up and you can look at my glorious mug. I'll actually be suited up for the entire stream. You can get a sneak peek at my look in a recent YouTube short that I literally just fucking put up. I'm taking that to the dry cleaners later on today. I'm pumped. I'm excited. Cannot wait to celebrate with y'all. Booyah. Hope to see you there. All right. Now that that's out of the way, let's officially start talking about Rot Among Us, the fourth studio album from self-proclaimed Halloween metal crew Acid Witch. That's right. These guys love Halloween so much, they love all things spooky and morbid and strange oh so much, that they've made it their entire musical identity. Is it silly? Yup. Is it stupid? Kind of. Is it predictable? Depending on who you ask? Honestly, maybe. I don't think so, but I can see why someone would think so. But also, I don't fucking care. Because two reasons. First off, I love Halloween. I might be biased right off the bat. I'm not gonna hide that. I got no shame in admitting that. Biased as fuck. Halloween's an awesome holiday. But also because, secondly, Acid Witch is a great band. So I think even if I didn't like Halloween, I would probably still like a lot of what these guys are doing because they're just really good at what they're doing. And not only is Rot Among Us not an exception to the rule, but I'd go as far as to argue that this is their best album to date and also their most ambitious record overall, balancing a lot of different tones and a lot of different subject matter, both pulled from the realms of fiction and from, real life tragedy and horror and mystery. And musically, it's their most expansive record, pulling in influence from death doom, stoner metal, sludge metal, psychedelic music, classic heavy metal and death metal, and also pulling in influence from composers and artists like John Carpenter and Danny Elfman. The opening track, Rot Among Us, for instance, is a very campy, groovy kind of death doom bruiser that has a lot of different, vocal stylings, I guess meant to emulate or personify a ton of different ghoulish characters that you may confront on Halloween. It almost kind of feels like the opening sequence from Nightmare Before Christmas, but with an extreme metal coat of paint. Then there's Psychedelic Swamp Gnosis, which drags classic 70s prog and psychedelia influence by its ankles into a boiling pond of swamp water. It's a very humid and sludgy track, much like an actual swamp, but it also has all these weird guitar effects and tones that I would associate with Jimi Hendrix and Cream, and also some flute parts and some keyboard parts that I would associate with Jethro Tull or very early Genesis. As we go further into the album, we also go further into real-world tragedy and horror and misery and mystery. Devil's Night Doom, for instance, is a very ominous and foreboding piece with some slow-moving, crusty death doom and some really creepy kind of Iron Butterfly, Deep Purple-style organ melodies. All the while, it details the acts of violence and arson that usually takes place on October 30th, which apparently has been dubbed Devil's Night in some major American cities like Detroit and Philadelphia. There's also Evil Dad, Dad by Dawn, which, contrary to what its punny title would imply, is not about Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, but instead about the crimes of Ronald Clark O'Brien, a man from Houston, Texas, who was convicted of killing his 8-year-old son Timothy on Halloween 1974 with a potassium cyanide-laced pixie sticks that was ostensibly collected during a trick-or-treat outing. O'Brien poisoned his son in order to claim life insurance money to ease his own financial troubles, as he was $100,000 in debt. O'Brien also distributed poisoned candy to his daughter and 3 other children in an attempt to cover up the crime. It's a downright gruesome track, not just because of the subject matter, duh, but also because of the actual music, which seems to borrow more so from, like, classic Carcass, like, think Symphonies of Sickness with a little bit of necroticism, with the sillier touches that we already see from Acid Witch, and you're kind of in the right ballpark. There's also 5508 Martin Street, which is apparently based on a supposed haunted house that you can find in Detroit, Michigan, and speaking of Detroit, the closing track, Gundella the Green Witch, is all about a local Wiccan hero by the name of Gundella, who apparently, despite being a spooky evil witch, was a positive role model in her community. She was actually a pretty good and trustworthy person. You can actually hear her talking in the beginning of this track about, like, body positivity and self-esteem and being more confident and true to yourself. And Acid Witch, of course, complements this perfectly by vomiting acidic nonsense everywhere. I mean, grisly riffs, disgusting vocal passages. It's pure Acid Witch manicy, but, you know, with a little bit more of a good-hearted purpose and an intention in mind. I think the only track on this album I didn't really care for might have been the opening cut, Gather Each Witch. It's just kind of overwhelmingly, egregiously cheesy with all these, like, chants and all these keyboard parts. It doesn't really go anywhere. The transition from this song into Rot Among Us is also really, really, really bad. It ultimately feels like something that would have been cut off of a 3 Inches of Blood record that then got, like, just smothered in microwaved Velveeta cheese. Not my cup of tea whatsoever. Or maybe a cup of, I don't know, a hot chocolate, melted candy, I don't know, since it's Halloween, cheese, I guess. Yeah, you get the idea. It's not a great song. Sometimes the vocal theatrics and antics can be a bit much as well. Like, there's a moment in Gundella the Green Witch where there's just this really random inflection, and it honestly sounds like somebody just stepped on the singer's toe halfway through recording and they never bothered to cut it out. Also, while I do still like Gundella the Green Witch as a standalone song, I do think it makes for a slightly anticlimactic finish to the album. That said, I did still enjoy a really good chunk of this album. I think it's really well written, really well performed, really well produced. I think it really does capture the spirit of everything Halloween, the campier aspects, the more gruesome and grotesque aspects. I think I would give this a very enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5 with that in mind. I would recommend this to, well, anyone who loves Halloween, because why not? It's Halloween metal. But also to anyone who's just looking for something a little bit more, I don't know, not so serious from their Death Doom. Like, so many Death Doom bands get so wrapped up in the brutality, in the gore, in the misery, and in comes Acid with kind of taking a lot of those elements and just being a lot more fucking silly with it, a lot more, like, childish with it in a good way. Like, it's nice to see a Death Doom band that's, like, really self-aware and is doing something a lot sillier and a lot less serious without going into, like, full-blown comedy metal and telling a bunch of lame fucking jokes and shit like that. Acid Witch have once again delivered something really fun, perfect for the holiday season. 3.5 out of 5. Definitely check this out, definitely jam this on Halloween, and frankly beyond, because it's just a really good album. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.